All right, everybody, it's Trez, and this week is kind of different because we know it's midterm week, people busy, spring break is next week, so we don't necessarily have a particular guest, but we're going to talk about a movie. So we're going to talk about Get Out in particular. So if you haven't seen Get Out and you don't want to be spoiled or you don't want to hear a review, this is the first time I'm asking you, don't listen. You just can't listen right now because we're going to talk about every single thing that we can.
Go see the movie and then listen.
Yeah,
right.
So like I said, but I do have 3 guests. I didn't say we have particular specific guests, but we have 3 amazing guests here. So would y'all like to introduce yourselves?
Cool. I'm Tajma Van Buren.
A.K.A.
DJ Roll Your Body.
DJ Roll Your Body. Okay, here we go. Okay.
Oh, gosh. I'm just Taylor, no AK.
All right.
I was going to say something similar. My name is Will McGarty. Thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
Cool. So, yeah, this is just all about just basically going to be like our debrief and discussion of the movie Get Out. Because, like, I feel like it's one of those things that, like, because I watched because of Taylor, because she was like, you got to watch this movie.
Right.
And now that I've seen it, it's one of those things where, like, when I see people, I'm like, yo, you got to watch it for the culture.
Right.
You got to watch it for the culture, you know what I'm saying? So, like, and that's why when Tumani told me, like, oh, Will's coming, I was like, wait, Will?
Right.
Because I need this dynamic here.
Right, sure. I think it's good to have.
Yeah, and I know how you are. You talk.
I'm a white dude.
Yeah.
That wasn't clear.
Yeah,
that wasn't clear.
So we good. We got a white guy, a black guy.
2 black women.
Couple women, yeah. We're trying to cover all of our bases,
Not
yeah.
black girls.
But did
women.
you hear me? I said women, though. Did you not hear me say women?
Nah.
Shout out to
We
international
appreciate
Because
it.
y'all was so loud, you overshadowed that I said women.
So sorry.
But yeah.
Just our boldness.
Yeah, but I mean, it's cool.
Effervescence.
It's cool. But like to
Yes.
anyone who's still listening and probably haven't seen the movie but still want spoilers because y'all weirdos, Get Out is basically about this guy, what's his name? Chris?
Chris.
Yeah, black guy Chris, and he's dating a white female for like 4 months. And they go visit the family, and everything goes south. And yeah, it's just this weird system of, selling African American bodies.
Yeah.
And that's the premise.
Through hypnosis and brainwashing,
Yes.
which is a huge turn of events. I did not see that coming.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I guess we could talk about like initial reaction. So I mean, I want you to go first, Will. Like
Me?
when you during the watching, after watching, like how would you feel?
So I watched it. It was a matinee. My girlfriend and I went. And it was the middle of the week. I think it was like a Sunday. So there wasn't a lot of people in the theater, which I did not like. I really like that kind of group dynamic when you see a film because, like, if something's funny, you laugh more. If something's scary, you cringe more. It kind of plays up those elements that you see.
Yeah.
So we went and saw the flick early, and I was shocked, man. It's honestly one of the best movies I've seen in a long time. I think, and I may have been overzealous. I was like, this is top 5 movies ever. Like, I was so, because it's more than it sells itself as. You know there's going to be racial dynamics in the movie, and you know that you're going to be uncomfortable at times. But, the way the plot twists there at the end with the way that they're kind of doing what they're doing really blew my mind.
Yeah.
Truthfully. And it's one of those movies, I want to go back and watch it again.
Yeah,
Now
you
knowing,
have
like,
to.
some of those
You have to.
characters, like, understanding why the characters were acting the way they did, it's huge. And you can probably pick up on so much more in the film because of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that's how I felt watching because I actually watched it with Taylor, and like during moments, like I would just comment on stuff.
Right.
I'm like, this is mistake number 1.
Right.
This is mistake number 2, or I give her this look like, do you see this here?
Right.
Because like coming from like a black perspective,
Right.
it's like every black person knows that dynamic of if you're in a room, a place, a building, and you're the only black person there.
Right.
So like we all know that dynamic,
Right.
but like I just like
Can't
how they
imagine.
kind of picked around it and they kind of showed the perspective of like exactly what you get. Because sometimes we just say, oh, you feel weird in that environment, but it actually broke down like each little things
Right.
throughout how those couples or just people in general was talking. So what do y'all ladies think?
Well, watching the movie, I'm a writer, and I always have to say that. I was like, oh, I'm a writer. But watching it from a writer's perspective, I felt so much appreciation for every tiny nuance that was, like, in the film. So it was like every tiny decision that was made was like, somebody wrote that.
Right.
And,
Yeah.
well, I know who wrote
It's so
that. George.
thoughtful.
Like, yeah.
Right.
It was really thoughtful. So for me, when you were talking about the way the characters acted, it was so important that it was all kind of a low-key movie. Like, nothing was overt until right at the end.
Right.
Because the black experience is, like, it's not overt.
Very subtle.
Very subtle. Everything that's done, passive-aggressive, it's, like, under the cover or under the radar.
Yeah.
And then, boom, it just is what it is. So, like,
Right.
I really appreciated that. And there was just I just kept, well, I guess since I've seen the movie twice, like, I can say that the first time, you're watching it, I don't like horror movies or scary movies at all, so I was just kind of really afraid the whole time, but then watching it for a second time, I could just break down so many things that were kind of just popping up, I guess.
Do you think as a writer, you're watching it, and there's a couple of moments in the film that were very, like, I guess, ironic, where the father is saying how he hates deer, and like, oh, if it was up to me, he'd and the way he goes at the end. And the same with the brother. The brother's talking about mixed martial arts, and he's kind of insinuating like, oh, Chris, you're a black man, you have the physical capability, because you're not white, you don't have the mental capability. Like what you could accomplish if I was in your head. That's how and he even said something about MMA. That's why mixed martial arts, jiu-jitsu, it's always about being a couple steps ahead. It's about thinking. And then if you notice when they're fighting, Chris goes for the door, tries to open the door, and the guy kicks it closed. Chris is about to die, or he's about to be suffocated, and he reaches for that door. He knows he's not going to get out from that, but he knows that the guy's going to put his leg up to close it, and that's how he stabs him. So like, how ironic, the guy who thinks he's strategically or more intelligent than the other guy, it's his own demise. That's what.
Even think about the element what he did, how he was choking out Chris, or even at the very beginning, where he was choking out with the other dude, Dre, like when he was just walking in the neighborhood, like it goes back to how he talking about MMA, because even when he was choking, he was counting. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. So like, it's a lot to it.
Go see this
well,
again.
then, even so, like, one of the biggest moments for me was that every time Chris is the main character, right? Every time he was getting away and almost about to get away, especially when he went back for the black girl, when he placed her in the car.
Oh, yeah.
I felt like a lot of times in the black experience, like, your humanity comes out, so you're like, no, I'm a person, and this is people. But then, like, it gets you back because you don't know, you're not engaging in the way that, in the truth that you walk in. And so for that kind of hit me.
Right. You never want someone to feel like the way black people feel every day. So it's almost like, okay, I don't want to say this, or I don't want to do this, or I don't want to leave this person behind.
Yeah.
But then it's like, nope.
Yeah.
Should have left.
Like,
Everyone
because when I was
themselves.
watching the movie, because like I understand the humane element, because like he hit her, so he felt bad. But at the same time, like sometimes you got to make sure you're in the clear first before you go back. But sometimes, I guess he's trying to exemplify that sometimes, people in the black community, you try to do that before you all the way set, and you get caught back up into it.
And that kind of played into that hit and run, the way his mother had died. He wanted to right that wrong, I guess, that he felt. So
that wasn't necessarily his fault.
And it wasn't his,
He just felt bad about it.
Or even the deer. He went back to the deer in the first.
And you show him, like, he is being very, very humane. Like, he shows sympathy for the deer, and the girl, like, doesn't give a shit.
Moving.
She's like,
like, just keep on going. And I also, like, I would just think about the element of, like, the process of what's going on. How first it was like mind games, the hypnosis and the paranoia, and then you get to the element of when you figure out, the jig is up, the plans about the replacing the brains and stuff. It's like they want it to be
Chris. Which is crazy too, because you think back about like all the people talking to him, the whole Tiger Woods reference, or like these subtle like racist, oh, you're black, you must be good at, let me see your form, man. Or the girl, she has like the husband who's like sick or dying, and she's touching his arm.
It's
true.
like a sexual. It's like, I feel like I like that part because at the beginning you hear these conversations, and towards the end you know what the main plot behind it. So it's like, they say these comments, but they say these comments not just of saying just because. It's like these elements they want to have.
Right.
But like the beautiful like duplicitousness, is that how you
say that?
vocabulary
word.
I don't even know that one.
The duality of it is that we learn what these comments were about. But these are comments that are heard out in the world. Like, people say this all the time.
All the time.
And so they were just those average comments, and that was beautiful. Like, I was like, wow, I've heard, I've been in a, what is it called, interracial relationship before, and so I was like, I have heard these comments.
Right.
And it was like,
it's not foreign to you.
No, and not at all. And so the fact that they, like, played to both of those, it was kind of like, oh, it could mean this, although I hope that's not a real thing.
Yeah. And I also like how it played out, because I feel like as any black person watching it, they pretty much get everything, like all the passive, subtle things. We all get it, but it don't come to the point it's like, okay, because like a lot of times those things, like when you hear it over and over, you start to be like, okay, whatever, we get
normalized,
this. Like,
man.
But it's one of those things, like it was done in such a way that you pick up on it, you still want to know what's going on. And I feel like for the other side, it's more like, oh, is this how this really comes about? Like, this how this come across when I make this comment?
Yeah.
So, like, I think it's a great way to bring, like, all together. That's why I say you got to do it for the culture.
Right. You think a lot of people probably make those comments and don't even realize how insensitive or how, like, you know, like
objectifying.
Right. Like,
Yeah.
like that. Those are like low-key racist remarks that you're making about somebody. But it seems like you said it's so normalized in our culture. It's like, oh, what's the big deal?
Yeah.
What's the big deal of assuming he's this or that?
Because it's deeper than what you just think. Sometimes it's just a subconscious thing. You know, like, it was just, like, a lot of those comments they was making towards Chris, like, that's how they really felt.
Right.
They probably thought they was, you know, bigging him up, making him feel great. Like, when you talking about the brother, talk about genetic makeup. Like, he talking about genetic makeup, but he's not mentioning, you know, what do Chris like? What do he do?
Yeah.
And one thing I was telling Taylor, like, it's ironic because the only person that saw Chris's talent was a person that was going to kill him for it, which is the blind guy.
Yeah,
because he actually saw his eye.
Let me ask you about that guy. When you're watching the film for the first time, and at first, do you see this guy as maybe like Chris's way of getting out, like in a good way? Like, oh, this guy is actually being like a normal person to him. He's talking to him.
I didn't see it as a way of getting out, but when I watched it with Taylor, I was like, that was the homie,
right?
Because he understood,
right?
So I feel like that also brings forth this message. Like, sometimes even if someone understands you, you don't know exactly why they understand
their motives
you.
are, right?
Yeah, because everyone else, no one mentioned his photography. No one cared about that.
Yeah.
They were talking about his genetic makeup, you know, stereotypical black comments. The only one to talk about something that wasn't ethnic, like black specific, was the one who was going to kill him for it.
Which made me think about the historical standpoint of it, because a lot of specifically HBCUs were created by white people, so they wanted to capitalize on the intellectual capacity of black people, but in a negative way. So it's like, okay, I have these superficial talents, but you want to put out, what's that one woman who did a bunch of poetry? She's in one of those. She was in Europe, and she did a bunch of poetry, but people wanted to capitalize off of that, and it's still, you can't win for losing.
Yeah.
I think it kind of plays also to, like, ally betrayal, because, like, because sometimes that's a thing that happens as well. You think this person gets it. You think this person is, like, in tune with it. He's like, they're idiots. Like, I'm separate from them. Even when he's prepping in the surgery bed, about to get the surgery, he says, you know, I could care less if you were black. Yeah. But it's like, but you're still betraying me. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? And so that was, like, super
It reminds me of the guy, the agent, Eazy-E's agent in Straight Outta Compton. I don't know how historically accurate that is, but the same, you know, putting yourself in the position of an ally to be deceitful.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a method to everything.
Yeah. And it also makes me think about this element of, there was also, like, all the comments from they was making, it also make it seem like they saw what we're doing as not maximized potential.
Right.
Like, when you talk about, like Tiger Woods comment, he was like, oh, you know, back then, like, my hips ain't good no more. But he's like, your hips is good, but what are you doing?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's more like, I guess the movie kind of put in a sense that, like, these white people saw it as a lack of potential. I guess the blind guy felt like, you know, your eyes is great, your eyes is good, but with your eyes and my knowledge, it could be better.
So it makes it almost like a physical, like the message is white people believe that black people are physically greater but intellectually inferior. Is that the connotation that is kind of being, that's what's being put out, right?
And that's why it makes it sense, like, when they actually doing the brain swapping thing, it's like they would rather just beat us because they feel like they can do it better. Right. Because they, like, even the first scene when Chris was about to go out to smoke, but he didn't, and you see the black guy running, but it's actually the grandfather. Like, he was just practicing, you know, he was just enjoying his new physical attributes. So it's like one of those things. Like, that's why I thought it was cool how they start first with, like, the hypnotism and, like, the mental thing, because that's how oppression is. It's in your mind, and it gets forward to the end goal where they want to be you in some way, shape, and form.
I think what's also weird is just that they want to kind of, like, be you, but it also speaks to their self-esteem as a people. Like, you're obsessed with being something else. Like, I could win if only. I could win if only I had the black body. I could win if only I had the black beauty or this, that. And there's like, well, what do you think of yourself deep down? Like, explore that.
But you made this comment, like, when we left, you were talking about how they were basing it so much on genetics and stuff like that.
Yeah.
When like there's not much different.
There's
You
not.
know, there might be like skin differences,
Right.
but that's because of region.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
That's
like
not
that's
even in your
ethnic group.
DNA, I don't think.
Yeah,
You know?
but like a lot of the things that they mention can be achieved in some way, shapes, and forms.
So it's like black people are losing for white insecurity. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that whole system was
You just
based...
put that out there.
I mean, it could come out how the movie was. Like,
Yeah.
going back to the movie.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't
Right.
in life. I just meant in the movie.
Yeah.
I was talking about the movie.
I mean, but it's also hypothetically talking
Yeah.
about just life in general.
Yeah.
Because you can replace some of these with what's going on now with, like, you think about the NBA. Think about football.
Mhm.
Like, a lot of times, these managers and these team owners, you know, they're usually white men.
Right.
But in a way, they living vicariously through the
Right.
players.
Right.
Oh my
You know, it's
God,
like, I can't do it,
yes.
but you can.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And they always want the best, the cream of the crop.
And that kind of shows the value of the physical body too. You know, like with yeah, it's insane.
Yeah.
I think you brought up culture and how it's mimicking what we're talking about. I read an article that said Peele,
Jordan Peele,
Peele is the one who wrote it, but he started writing it before
At the beginning of the Obama getting voted in.
Yeah, at the
Mhm.
beginning of Obama
like
getting voted
2008.
in.
Wow, it's
during
been
a
that long.
time,
Yeah.
during a time where we weren't really talking about racial issues, but he started having to shift it because suddenly we were talking about racial issues, but we were talking about it in a matter of it's not overt racism, or I'm not racist if you're not hanging from a tree,
Right.
but
That had
there's
to be
still
addressed.
racism still there.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and that's why I appreciate how the movie is, because I feel like regardless of your ethnic background, you can still watch it. Because one of those things that sometimes when it comes to race movies, you want to pick one people as like just the true enemy.
Right.
But when you watch this movie, you don't really see all white people as the enemy. You just see
Right.
these,
It
Yeah.
was
the
it was
ones that was out here. You know what I'm saying?
They were like an ensemble of evil because like no evil was greater because
Yeah.
everyone had their part in
Yeah.
like the problem.
Yeah, that's
which
why I
is
feel like
cool.
no one can just say, "Oh, this movie's racist." How? It's like think about like a scary movie. Like think about some generic horror movie where like some family is killing people. You don't attribute that to their whole race.
Right,
you just
yeah.
see them.
Right.
So in this movie, you just see these, higher middle class white people as the villain.
Yeah.
Does it make you think that like because it's a black movie, like it's made by a black director and it predominantly has black actors and actresses in it, like people want to coin it as this must be racism.
And that's what I think they
we were
want to
saying,
do,
there's
but
plenty of
but
other
you
movies
can't.
never even think about
But
that.
you
Yeah.
can't, because anything that's happening, you can't attribute to the entire background. You just attribute to these people. Because, like, not all black men is going to probably date someone like Rose, you know what I'm
Right.
saying? Or she ain't going to always have the same family structure.
What did you think about Rose in the beginning of the movie? Did you think she was down, or did you think there was something shady from the beginning?
See,
That's my question.
But here's, like, a funny thing for me. Like, I don't know. Like, I had this, like, in the back of my mind, I want to know, like, man, sometimes you can't always trust it.
Mhm.
You can't always trust it. It's like,
Right.
yeah, you might not. You might be down,
Mhm.
but I don't know about your dad, your
Right, yeah.
mom,
Right.
brothers, sisters, cousins.
And
But
is
I
that something
think,
you worry about as a black man? You might have a girl that you think is very accepting, and you worry about the family too. Like,
Oh,
that's
I say all the time, it's one of those things where it's like, we can be cool and stuff like that,
Yeah.
but it might not get deeper than that, because
Right.
no matter how cool you say you are,
Right.
your best friend might not feel that way.
Right.
Your best friend's boyfriend might not feel that
It's
way.
kind of an act of self-care.
Yeah, and I think this movie even like flips what I said up, because like even though that person you might think is down, but you think their family is crazy, they believe
Right.
the same way because they come from that family. You can't always break that
Oh,
apart.
yeah.
Right.
Because like when you think about just family dynamics in general, it's hard to break away from what your family has taught you.
Right.
We could bring that into
Socialization.
domestic violence.
Right.
Because people just repeat domestic violence. It takes very few kids to actually break away from that.
Yeah.
So if your family is like
smoking habits too.
yeah, like very racist in mindset, and you say no, I'm not.
Right. But you're
I
around it,
get
you're
that,
yeah.
but like it's in there somewhere.
Right.
And I feel like Rose kind of let us know like she was the connector in a way, because she was
Mhm.
bringing them into the
Right,
family.
Yeah.
I think that character, and again, like as a writer and having seen it twice, the first time, I had a lot of different feelings and like knee-jerk reactions to her.
Mhm.
But watching it again, she's such a beautifully written character because she represents so many different people in the world. Because the first time when she's standing up for her guy, like that was like, I heard a lot of people we went when there was a lot of people,
Right.
and the first time I went, there were a lot of people. I hear a lot of and oh, and people are supportive of
Right,
her.
yeah.
And then later, Tajma sends me an article, and it talks about how she possibly might not have let the police officer take his information,
Right.
Because she
The
didn't want a paper trail.
Right, yeah, I saw
And
an
it was
article about
like,
that too,
oh
and that
my
blows your mind,
God.
right? Yeah.
And so you thought about that,
Thoughtful.
and then can I say the thing you said about the cereal? Because
Oh,
that like messed with me
yeah,
so bad.
okay, yeah, because I was thinking about this because like I was like, bro, I was just thinking about it. And that's really takes Taylor because you know the ending scene where she eating Fruit Loops, but she eating the Fruit Loops dry and then she drinking it with milk.
Yeah, she's
and
sitting there waiting.
I was like,
kinda.
what if in a way it's like she feel like color need to be washed down by whiteness?
Wow.
That blew
Or
my mind.
or
Because she
separate.
literally-
It's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, you could say separation, but I just think about the fact that she's drinking it. I feel like she's just
Right.
washing down the color with whiteness.
Yeah.
Like she
Wow.
probably feel like, oh yeah, this color, this is great, this is cool, but let's splash some white on it. We
Right.
good.
It makes it better.
Not makes it better. You said it like a black boy. Yeah, black mom voice. Okay. And then the other point when she's going down the stairs and like she's crying and she's being there for her man
Right,
and
yeah.
then goes, "Sorry, babe,
like
can't."
that,
I was like,
too.
"Whoa!"
Yeah.
She's like, "Can't give you the keys." I was like, "Wow, the switch
This
up."
is crazy.
Such a beautiful actress, actually.
yeah.
Yeah.
So for me, her character was amazing. And then even Trez and I talked about when we were leaving the theater was just that these old rich white people wouldn't be able to get these young black people if she wasn't that link
The
going
connector.
out there,
Right.
getting them
Yeah.
and
The
bringing
liberal
them
link.
in.
Yeah.
The liberal, acceptable,
Right.
digestible
Yeah.
ally.
Right.
And even
yeah.
showed that
Yeah.
when the black woman is actually the grandma.
Right.
Remember he was talking about like snitching and she didn't
Yeah.
get it, and then he
Right.
was like ratting on you, so tattletelling, like so like they
Yeah.
don't get these
Right, the
cultural
dynamic.
things.
Right.
That's
yeah.
where Rose
I
come
didn't even
in.
think about that.
That's how Rose steps in. You know what I'm saying? Like they have the foundation, they have what they need, but like they still don't get it because of just generation and culture. That's what Rose is for.
She's an ally with her, like what you said, her family mindset. She kept her family mindset, but she's
Yeah.
an ally out in the streets.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wolf
So-
in sheep's clothing.
Yeah, because the reasons why they might be doing things is different. Like Rose, she might do it in some way, shape, or form, or appreciate the black aesthetic and black people in general, but it's still more like a tool.
Right.
Yeah. She was like, "You were my favorite." Like when he's like conking out.
And you think that was,
Falling into
and how about
something
how
else.
quick she was when our guy comes up in the police car or the TSA car,
Mhm.
and she's trying to make him the and that must be so.
But she
familiar.
did it twice.
It must be
Her
so
dying
familiar.
But
breath.
she did it twice, though. She did it twice. Like, not only was she about to kill him herself,
Uh-huh.
but when she was about to die, she was like, "Oh, it's different. It's me. I
Right.
love you."
Yeah.
Yeah.
But as soon as she see a cop car, when she know how that situation
Right.
goes down,
Yep.
she still throw him under the rug.
Yeah.
In her dying breath, she would have betrayed him.
Mhm.
And I was like, wow.
Like,
Yeah.
cause I was looking at Taylor. Like when I saw the cop car, I was like,
Yeah.
"Yo,"
He's
cause
fucked.
I already
He's
knew.
fucked.
I already knew what it
He
is.
knew he was fucked.
Right. Yeah.
And by the way, TSA homie,
That's the
I feel
character
like,
right there, man.
I feel like also in a way, I feel like he's a clever way of breaking the fourth wall because he was saying stuff we were saying
Yeah.
in the
Right,
audience.
yeah.
What you're
Like that's why we was
I'm
laughing
gonna
so
get
much.
this
Yeah,
bitch.
because we was thinking this. Like we was thinking this. I feel like he was used as a way of like portraying our emotions.
Right.
Yeah.
Just did it in a
And
funny,
also not
great
taking
way.
things at face value. You think of TSA, you don't think of this guy, going above and beyond. And
Yeah.
but if it wasn't for him, your average kind of guy, where would Chris be?
Yeah.
Like
I think it also shows that when it comes to the black community, you don't have to necessarily be an intellectual or someone very
Yes.
great
Yes.
because homie was just CSA.
Right, yeah.
He did what the
motherfucking
Right.
A.
he did what the
That's my
police
favorite line.
department didn't do.
Right.
The
Yeah,
police
they laughed
department
at
they
him.
laughed at. I feel like that was a dynamic too.
That
Wasn't
was-
Chris supposed to be like college educated and all these
That I
attributes
don't
of-
know.
He looked. It's the perception of intelligence. 'Cause,
Yeah,
like when
he
you see his
seemed like it.
apartment, he's got all
Right.
these nice things.
Mhm.
Clearly, he's,
Even the way he talked.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so, and his kind of his
Right.
demeanor. It's an I could see you could assume that.
Mhm.
And so that whole plan of like his friend didn't have to be the smart woke
Mm-mm.
guy.
Right, yeah.
He was just the guy who had
Saying what he felt.
Had
He was
back.
like, look, this don't seem right. This don't seem right.
Right.
And look how it worked out. So I think that, and I think it was also clever that when the TSA guy did go to the police department, how all of those, they was of ethnic backgrounds.
Of course,
So
that
I,
was
I,
written.
I think, I think it was
you know?
showing you that, like, even though if you go, because a lot of times the black community will complain that there's no,
Representation.
representation of us in these things.
Right.
But it's like, even within them,
Right.
they still gonna withhold a level of whiteness or a
Right.
level of you got to show me the Carfax or we're not gonna believe you.
Institutionalism.
What do you think about the cell phone? The cell phone being what made them kind of come out of that hypnosis. I saw an article, and I don't know if this is the intention behind it, but I saw something how cell phones have been monumental in I guess, being evidence of, like, not just police brutality, but, like,
Bro!
in general, and, like, how with the cell phone that he is right.
The flag.
Get out, Will.
Yeah, I'm telling
Yo,
you.
Will.
I didn't notice that.
Right.
Oh my
Will, that's
god.
heat.
It's one of those movies, man. You start researching on
So much
I read the 5
Read,
articles.
read.
I read
Right.
something about the Asian perspective in it
Yeah.
too,
Yes.
which was interesting.
Speaking
Because I was
Yeah,
even
yeah.
joking, because when
Yeah.
I saw the Asian guy, I was joking, say, oh, Asians, the accepted minority.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And
Like,
you
they're
know,
cool.
You remember his question? He's like, what do you think? What do you make
He
of
said
the black
advantage.
experience? He like,
Yeah.
it's because
Yeah.
he's questioning, like, do I think being black is better than being Asian? That's like
Yeah.
that's his mindset. He doesn't want
Yeah.
to.
Should I
His-
completely be
Yeah.
brought into the white population, or should I be brought into the black experience?
Yeah, or do I just implement my own?
Right.
Or have
Yeah.
or like actually, like play up my own culture, because they have their own culture. They don't
Mhm.
need to be adopted into necessarily black culture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they have been forced and have chosen to assimilate. Well, I've betrayed my own culture for this whiteness, this privilege, and then it's like, well, if it's more advantageous to do the other, maybe I should be more Asian,
Right.
Mhm.
more quotations, more
Even
Asian.
even the fact that he asked, is it an advantage to be black, kind of brings up the idea that some people actually think black privilege is a
Right.
thing.
Mhm.
And they also it kind of ignores the plight of Black America. The
Mhm.
fight that I imagine I see people going through.
Yeah.
It's ignoring like that struggle and saying, oh, I only see the good things. You know?
Yeah.
You're kind of like turning a blind eye to
Mhm.
like the constant stuff that the
Yeah.
struggle.
Yeah, and I also say that a lot of the things that many white people love and adore black people is things that they did in
Oh,
retaliation to
yeah.
oppression. Like I talk about like
Yeah.
rap music.
Right.
Like rap music, it is to the point now where we're talking on a consumer basis.
Mhm.
Most albums of rap is being bought by white people than
Right.
black
Right.
people.
Yeah.
Right.
And like they appreciate rap, but rap came as this way of coping and coming together because
Right,
we were
yeah.
being oppressed.
Right.
Or
gosh,
they love to talk about our style. A lot of our style we did because we had to make do with what we had, or we
Right.
had to bring up this unity because we being oppressed.
Right.
Or even
Soul
talking to Taylor
food.
about food.
Yeah.
Like soul food came because slaves they was given just the BS of whatever they had, so they had to
Right.
make do
What
with
can
what
you
they
make
had.
out of it? Yeah.
So it's funny because like it's like this paradox of like white people is praising black people for the things they're doing, but the black people is doing it because you was oppressing them.
Right.
And you're
So-
jealous.
So
of
like you creating
that.
what
Right.
you're jealous of. Like you in a
Right.
way you're creating what you're jealous of.
It's like a psychosis, bro.
So it's like, oh my
wild.
goodness, like this is messy here.
So much.
Yeah, so it's wild.
So
I
I'm gonna
don't-
see this movie again on Friday.
Are you going to?
Yeah.
Nice.
I saw it like 2 weeks ago.
You gotta see
Yeah.
some
I
more
definitely
stuff.
need
You
to
gotta pick up
revisit.
on more stuff.
I want to know. I don't know who was the cinematographer, and I have a question for that guy. Like, I want to see if he was inspired by Kubrick, because there's 2 shots in particular that when they show the house is just so balanced. Like there's the big pillars, and the house it's so symmetrical.
Yeah.
And same with the first time Chris is downstairs, it starts looking at the ceiling, and the ceiling is this kind of grid, and it tilts down, and you see the foosball table, or maybe a ping pong table,
Yeah,
foosball
it is.
table, his chair, these
Yeah.
pillars, like it's so symmetrical, and it's just like to me, it's an homage to these filmmakers of the past, and,
yeah.
and I wonder if that was intentional.
It's just so much little thing. Like even he was mentioning how he saved himself by picking the cotton out
cotton.
his
Yeah.
ears.
The cotton.
It's like it's just so
My
much.
brother saw it, and he is like, "No." I'm like,
Yeah.
"Yes." Like,
Yes.
bro, like you think that was just an accident? You think that was happenstance? No, that was thoughtful. That was
Yeah.
me-
intentional.
For me, the balance, and especially the white pillars on the front, like that, were highlighted a couple of times in different scenes. It was kind of like that whole like neo-slavery thing, and because it was playing, because plantation homes,
Yeah, like a
we live in the
plantation.
South, y'all have
Right.
seen these.
Even how they was
Yeah.
bitten
They're
off of him.
huge. Yeah, they were.
Had his
leaning on
picture
them,
there.
and
Yeah.
he was playing ukulele when they're walking up,
Mhm.
and like. To me, that made me think of how like
The-
the banjo used to be
The
a
dueling
black instrument.
banjos,
Yeah, like
from
that used to be-
Deliverance. Yeah, sure.
it used to be kind of a black instrument, but it's very southern. It's kind of placed with like slavery.
Right.
And then I told Trez about the brother. Like the brother, he kind of represented to me the guy who wasn't the slave owner, but he was like the slave wrangler,
Right.
and
The
you could never,
overseer?
the overseer. You could never like hurt them too much, but you
Right.
could like mess with them, because he would say statements like, "I didn't hurt him, or I didn't do anything." It was things like that that were kind of like, this is slavery, but like I'm gonna like make it like new and
Right.
stuff like that.
Mhm. Yeah, so I don't know. It's like showing like we were saying beginning. Like it's more like it's more subtle.
Right.
It's not
So
just in your
subtle.
face no more. It's just all about through conversation, what you see and what you pick up on.
Which I appreciated.
Yeah, 'cause
It makes
that's how
you feel
it
less
is now.
crazy.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
really does. It like, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh God, yes.
And that whole 3-year Obama thing, that was beautiful. I
Right.
was like,
Yeah.
beautiful writer.
Yeah,
like,
oh yeah, voted one with third term. It's like,
Well, and that's
okay.
like the common like defense mechanism. I
Yeah.
feel like, oh, I'm not racist. I love Obama.
But the funny
or,
thing
I
is,
love Oprah.
but when you talking to most black people, like comments like that,
Fuck.
we don't necessarily care about
Yeah.
because like there's some black people like, okay, Obama, what did he do? Like blah blah blah. So it's like don't like start a conversation with black people by using black things.
Yeah.
Just start a conversation with black people off of things you would normally
talking.
would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, because you don't have to talk
That's
about
what we have
Obama
our
because
day
everyone don't appreciate
I don't
Obama.
know.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, so but I just feel like
out here hating on Obama.
There's a
I
lot
know
of
a
black
lot.
people that don't like.
I know
they
a
don't
lot.
hate him, but they just feel like he could have done.
Well, I said
Yeah.
hating on him.
Okay,
Yeah, but
well,
I mean,
that's
but
a
it's one of those
strong
things. I feel like it's
word.
just conversation where like they probably get on because certain things was like, do you honestly know what presidents do?
Yeah.
Like that's a whole nother conversation. So
Truly.
that's something that we were just here talking about.
Tune in
Get
next
out.
week.
Yeah, we were just talking about Get Out, but like this was great. Like I love this perspective.
For sure.
And I feel like just switch up a little bit and talk. So hopefully whoever listening, if you did watch it, you get more perspective and get your mind blown because the phone thing definitely just blew me away
Yeah.
just
Right.
then.
Gonna have to think about it.
And if you actually listen to this and you haven't watched the movie, hopefully if you watch, you're going to pick up on more things. So like I say every week, ones to entertain you, we'll do that. Ones to inform you, we'll do that as well. I'm Trez,
Will.
Taylor.
Tajma.
and this has been great. Y'all hear from us next week. Take it easy.